Welcome to Infidelity Nest. In today's video script, she walked through the door smelling like expensive perfume Chanel, with a trace of something sugary and secretive that didn't belong to our home. I was already sunk into the corner of the couch, the room dim except for the faint glow of the muted TV. A glass of bourbon sat untouched in my hand. The ice nearly melted into nothing. Outside, the Charleston night pressed against the windows with that humid heaviness only this city knows, like a stranger pushing their forehead to the glass, trying to listen in. Madison entered the house with the same cadence she always had. Heels tapping, confident strides, a rhythm too self-assured to belong to someone who had come home late 5 nights in a row. She didn't hurry, didn't look apologetic. She never did. At this point, her timing wasn't a surprise, it was a pattern carved into the week. I didn't bother greeting her with warmth. Not tonight. Long day. I asked quietly, eyes fixed on the silent blur on the television. My tone wasn't interested in small talk, it was a question pulled from exhaustion. She stretched like a cat, the kind that owns every room it walks into, dropped her purse onto the marble island, and sighed dramatically. You wouldn't believe it. I finally turned my head to look at her. Try me. Her smile appeared, but it wasn't soft or apologetic. No, this was thin, sharp-edged, calculated. The kind of smile that carried the full intention of being misunderstood as charm. If this is about me missing dinner again, she said, brushing invisible lint off her sleeve, I already told you no lectures. Stood now, slow and deliberate. This isn't about dinner. Her eyebrow lifted, mocking curiosity. It's about the disappearing acts. The excuses. The way you treat this house like a hotel and me like a bellboy. She rolled her eyes so hard it was almost theatrical, then gave a laugh, empty, hollow, designed to sting rather than soothe. Wow, there it is. I stepped closer, just enough to make sure she couldn't dodge my words. Madison, I want the truth. No more stories. No more sugarcoating. Just say it. For a brief moment, just a flicker, I thought I saw something human in her expression. Maybe guilt. Maybe hesitation. But then, just as quickly, it vanished. A switch flipped. Her mouth curved into a smirk, cold enough to frost a window. Finally figured it out, huh? She said, arms crossing with deliberate, slow confidence. Took you long enough? I didn't react. Didn't flinch. Just nodded once. I see. The room felt like it had stopped breathing. You always needed things spelled out. She said, circling the kitchen island like a lioness who'd grown bored of the hunt. I stopped pretending months ago. You just didn't want to see it. That part hurts, but it wasn't a surprise. I'd been pretending to. Pretending late nights had reasons. Pretending silence wasn't a warning sign. Pretending distance wasn't a fracture widening beneath us. And you're not even sorry, I said. My voice was steady, even though my hands trembled slightly. I hoped she didn't see, sorry. She laughed, but it wasn't humor, it was cruelty wearing lipstick. For realizing I want more than this predictable, suffocating life. For wanting more than shared calendars and matching mugs. That settled something inside me. Something that had been rattling quietly for months finally clicked into place. Divorce papers are coming, I said, my voice flattening into something final. Signed, notarized, and airtight. I'm done. She blinked once. Then her lips curled. That's adorable, Ethan. You think you're the one ending this? I didn't answer. I simply picked up the bourbon glass still untouched and walked past her. You'll regret this, she whispered as I passed. But I wouldn't, because for the first time in years, I saw her clearly. And I finally understood this truth. I wasn't afraid of starting over. Charleston had always been my refuge, brick roads, salt-stained air, quiet mornings jogging along the Battery. I ran an architectural firm that kept me steady, kept me grounded. I once imagined I'd grow old in this house with Madison beside me, sipping coffee and laughing about the things we survived. But the truth is, the quiet felt better without her. Cleaner. Honest, and if you think that moment was the end of our story, let me tell you this was only the beginning. The next morning, Madison entered the downtown law office looking like she owned the building. Confident, composed, every inch polished into perfection. She wore a sand-colored suit stitched for power, paired with the gold necklace I gave her 5 anniversaries ago. Her lawyer, Greg Layden, walked beside her, slick, self-satisfied, and already half smiling like he'd read the ending of a book he was sure I'd lose. My attorney, Allison Marks, sat beside me. Cool, calm, sharp. She had the quiet confidence of someone who'd come prepared to win. "Let's begin," she said. Documents slid across the table. Years of paperwork, receipts, statements, court-ready transparency. The home at 31 Calhoun Street, Allison began, was purchased solely through Mr. Mercer's personal trust prior to the marriage. Greg frowned, flipping through the papers. "We can test that. All renovations," she continued, "unfazed, utilities, taxes, and maintenance were paid from Mr. Mercer's individual accounts. 7 years of statements attached." Madison's jaw tightened. Her fingers tensed around her pen. Her mask cracked not fully, but enough. When the beach property came up, she finally snapped. "Oh, come on," she said sharply. "You think paperwork erases what I built?" "No one is erasing anything," Allison said coolly. "We're clarifying ownership." Madison turned to me then. Anger sharpened her features into something unrecognizable. "You think this makes you clever?" she hissed, filing behind my back like a coward instead of talking to me like a man. "I did talk," I said quietly, "for years. You just weren't listening." The rest of her composure dissolved as fast as sugar in hot water. "This is a stunt," she spat. "It won't hold." "It already has," Allison replied. Madison stood abruptly, chair legs screeching across the floor. "This isn't over." "No," I said. "It's just begun." The glass door slammed behind her. Greg hurried after her, muttering about mediation. When silence returned, it felt colder. She didn't scream or throw anything. I said, "That's a victory," Allison smirked. But there was no satisfaction. Just clarity, a cold, clean kind, that night. The peace of Charleston felt untouched until the door shook violently beneath someone's fists. I opened it. Caleb's, her older brother, filled the frame, built like a brick wall with anger pouring off him in waves. He shoved past me without waiting for an invitation. "You blindsided her," he growled. "Humiliated her." "She humiliated herself," I replied calmly. "I just brought the receipts." Caleb stepped closer, chest rising with fury. "She gave you the best years of her life." "No," I said, voice low. "She gave me a performance." And the curtain finally dropped. When I threatened to call the police, he backed down, jaw tight with resentment. At the door, I added, "Next time she sends someone to intimidate me, tell her to pick someone smarter." His eyes flared and he muttered, "You'll regret this." But regret wasn't something I carried anymore. Later that night, I sat on the porch, sipping tea, watching the garden sway in the night breeze. The plants were growing wild, untamed, beautiful in their own chaos. Calm didn't feel weak. It felt like strength finally learning its name. Days passed. Courtroom battles followed. Madison unraveling inch by inch in front of a judge who saw through every performance she tried to give. Her outbursts, her theatrics, her arguments built on emotion instead of fact. She wasn't ready for a world that didn't bend to her charm. And when the judge questioned her tone, her attitude, her lack of evidence, something inside her finally cracked. Not in a dramatic explosion, but in a slow, quiet disbelief. The kind that comes when someone realizes the game they used to win without effort isn't working anymore. After the hearing, I went to a small cafe wanting air outside my own house. That's where I ran into Tyler On's old friend from college. He showed me a picture, a beach party from months ago. Madison was in it, with another man's arm around her. Waist, laughing, relaxed, alive in ways she never was with. Not because I wasn't enough, but because she had already left long before the divorce papers ever existed. Seeing that picture didn't break me. It just confirmed what I already knew. Then came Rachel Madison's younger sister, polished, observant, sharper than her calm voice let on. She came to collect Madison's things. Expected bitterness. Found something else. She came back the next night with wine and takeout. No agenda. No accusations. Just conversation. Human, honest, unexpected. She admitted she had believed Madison's version of the story, the painted-over version where I was cold and distant, and Madison was the wounded heroine. But the truth sat across from her. In a quiet kitchen with half-open boxes and an even quieter man. You didn't deserve what she did, Rachel said softly. That sentence hit harder than anything thrown in the courtroom. Rachel didn't stay late, didn't blur lines, but something shifted, a kind of understanding that didn't need labels. The next evening, Madison showed up, banging on the door, angry.